$9.8 million pigs, 1.5 million sheep, 94.5 million chickens, 2.6 million cattle, 4.5 billion fish, and many, many more. Over 8 billion animals are slaughtered in the UK per year. There's only roughly 7.4 billion people in existence. The meat and dairy industry is the most profitable industry in the world. It is also very secretive and based around lies.
Animals grazing on like green pastures.
The sheep lambing in the fields.
Always a couple of dogs, farm dogs.
It's always when you're growing up you get taken to the farm as a kid and it's always pet the sheep and stuff like that.
The pigs out in the fields in the little bomb shelters.
Always cats, looking for rats. It's a nice thought, really nice.
The farms you imagine probably look like this rescue sanctuary. Happy animals get to live out their lives here. Each one has a tragic background, and each one has felt the sting of the human hand. We're here today to tell them the purpose of their lives and what their unfortunate brothers and sisters are suffering through. Let's stop the lies. Let's learn the truth. Have you ever heard the term factory farm?
No, I haven't.
Go on.
A factory farm is a very intensive way of raising thousands of animals at a time to slaughter. 80% of meat comes from factory farming because there's such a high demand for your flesh.
What's he talking about?
Animals live in thousands, packed into giant windowless sheds, eating and sleeping in each other's excrement. Can you feel that sun right now? Yeah, they will never get to see the sunlight, let alone feel the warmth on their skin. Most of your brothers will develop breathing problems due to the high concentrate of ammonia in the air from all their crap. But that's fine. They are typically cleaned out every 4 years. That leaves 17 generations worth of chicken crap before they are free to breathe again. Because of their vile living conditions, diseases develop and spread at the drop of a hat. But don't worry, from birth to the end, they are fed a cocktail of drugs to try and keep them at their best. And joke's on the humans, because a small dose of these drugs are packaged, shrink-wrapped, and boxed up, ready for their consumption. Unfortunately, their bodies can also become immune to the medication, which is how superbugs form.
Superbugs?
Swine flu, bird flu, mad cow disease. All mutations formed by their bodies fighting and being so familiar with the drugs we force into them. But don't worry, we kill millions of animals to get rid of these diseases, so you should be safe. Now, not everyone gets to live in a villa such as a shed. Some unfortunate chickens will be confined to cages.
What?
But don't worry, battery cages have recently been phased out of the UK. We now use enriched cages for poultry. Sounds good, don't they?
No cage for me, thank you.
They're just slightly bigger versions of the battery cage, meaning more can be crammed in. But they also come complete with a scratch mat for all the chickens' scratching needs. How thoughtful is that? Although, similar to the sheds, it doesn't take long before scratching becomes impossible as the mats become caked in faeces and are rarely cleaned. Perhaps don't tell the chickens that.
No.
In these cages, chickens are given an A4 sheet of paper of movement throughout their entire life, which sounds crap anyway, even before you learn that we've genetically modified them to grow to the size of an A4 sheet of paper. That's right, we've even tampered with your genes to make you grow unnaturally fast and unnaturally large.
3 months, 4 months.
About 9 months.
6 months.
Don't tell the chickens, but give them 42 days and you know what's next.
Wow, is that all? You think months? You don't think days, do you? You think months?
Yep, the chicken may not look like a baby because we've manipulated them to grow up to 65 times faster than their body naturally could.
Why are you thinking about us?
But it's not just the chickens. We've done this to all of them. It's not uncommon to see deformed or disabled animals on factory farms. Most chickens won't physically be able to lift their own bodies off the ground because of this unnatural weight. We kind of screwed them over really, because our tampering with their genes leads to injuries, sickness, bloatedness and deformities from birth. But that's fine, because it's not like they have to put up with it for very long. Now, not only do we manipulate the animals from before birth, right after, at just days old or even less, we mutilate them. Baby chicks will have the ends of their beaks sliced from their face with a red-hot blade, an agonising procedure which has been scientifically proven to cause pain for months after. Piglets will have their tails, teeth, testicles and ears cut out without an anaesthetic. Again, absolutely agonising. Why is this necessary? It is acknowledged that their environments are extremely stressful for them, so any part of the body which can be used to harm or be harmed is cut off to prevent fighting and ruining the flesh that we so love to consume. Now, I hate to say this, but I think you should know that the catchers come in packs, dead in the middle of the night, when everyone is sleeping and at rest, grabbing wings, legs, necks, whatever they can, of these terrified creatures, and stuffing them harshly into crates. And I can't exaggerate the harshness enough.
Don't put me in a crate. I don't want to go.
One thing you may find comfort in, though, is that millions die before ever seeing, smelling or hearing the slaughterhouse. Although this is due to broken bones, lacerations, hemorrhages, dehydration, heat stroke, hypothermia, or the fact that this horrific trauma is also too much for their tiny hearts to handle. So, in a great deal of pain, basically.
Someone stop this from happening!
Enough about the chickens. I feel slightly bad for them. Let's talk pigs now. Factory-farmed pigs will live out their lives in the confinement of gestation crates, 6.6 feet by 2 feet. If you can't picture how big that is, then roughly the size of an adult pig. They can barely move an inch throughout their entire life. Standing and laying down are the only two positions that they will ever know, and even they're a trial to manoeuvre in for crates. Bed sores and bleeding gums are common. Their flesh and body spend most of their adult lives pushing out of the sides of the bars. Their skin becomes tender, sore,
like pigs.
and
They
eventually
make good
breaks.
friends.
Why would someone hurt
why
them?
would someone
This
hurt them?
is so traumatic for the pig that they often bite the bars with what teeth they have left, which causes bleeding gums
no.
and painful damage to the teeth, which is more than likely going to go untreated. Sorry, pigs, but if you're going to act stupid and harm yourselves, then you deserve to live with the pain, right? Mummy pigs will be moved from these gestation crates to farrowing crates, which is basically the same but has space at the end for her piglets to live and nurse from her. One worker describes the process. They beat the shit out of the mother pigs and get them inside the crates because they don't want to go. This is their only chance to walk around, get a little exercise, and they don't want to go back into the crate. Just think, that probably happened to your mum. Sorry about that. Bizarre that beating a human woman would be regarded as a disgusting, low and prison-worthy act, but so accepted because she has 4 legs instead. Now for all of those do-gooders that only eat free-range or organic food. A free-range chicken will still live in an overcrowded, shit-filled shed, where only 15% of them will make it outside at a time.
No freedom to do natural things.
The ones who do make it out struggle to cope with uncommon pathogens and the weather conditions of the outdoors, and so free-range chickens have a higher mortality rate.
They can't catch a break.
Not only that, but a free-range chicken may have only ever seen the outdoors 3 or 4 times in their lives, and of course, most never will. Perhaps not so free after all. Some unlucky animals are not just bred for their meat, but are forced to work until their bodies give up on them. Yes, cows and chickens, I'm talking about you fantastic, hard-working bunch. Chickens get 72 weeks or 504 days to lay as many eggs as possible, and more, before they're sent away for dog food. Mother chickens will never actually see or meet their children as their eggs are stolen and hatched in industrial incubators. It's probably for the best that they never find out the fate of their babies, though. Once born, the chicks are separated into girls and boys.
Please don't take my sister.
If you have a son, he is technically useless because he can't lay
Oi.
eggs and is the wrong breed for meat, so he'll get thrown down a chute into a giant blender or gassed at just a day old. All their sisters get to grow up just like Mum, living in a spaceless cage, churning out an unnatural amount of eggs until their bodies are too exhausted and can no longer keep up with the high demand. I can't quite decide whether I'd rather be born a girl or a boy, and what's more, whether I'd want my daughter to suffer a life of terror and pain, or my son to be mulched alive with his brothers. That's a tough one.
Enough!
Now, enough about chickens. Gosh, there's so much about chickens. They're so abused and helpless, aren't they? Cows next.
Oh,
now,
no.
cows can't just produce milk naturally, like most of us are led to believe. They're not milk machines where their body just makes milk for no reason. Cows are just like us. They produce milk for their children, and only when they have children can they do so. One by one, girls are artificially impregnated, literally by the hand of a farmer. Once her baby takes its first breath in the world, that it will be seized from her, never to see, hear or touch her baby again. It sounds harsh, but we can't have her baby drinking all our milk. As you can imagine, the splitting of mother and child is extremely traumatic, and poor mums have been known to cry out for days and weeks for their children. But in between her whining, she will be hooked up to machines to have the milk sucked from her body before being impregnated all over again. Not only do dairy cows live in constant distress, but her body, like everyone else, has been modified to produce 4 times the natural amount of milk. She can barely walk with all this extra weight, and over half of our great British cows go lame each year. Aren't you so proud to be British right now? But I assure you, her ability to walk is the least of our problems. Mastitis also affects half of the British dairy cows, caused by a build-up of faeces, unnatural diets, and overworking them. Their udders become swollen and weep. The current UK regulations allow milk to contain millions of pus cells per litre, supplied straight from the udder's weeping
Jokes on
wounds.
them.
Hey, did you ask for that pus smothered on your cereals? She's probably lucky that she has all of this going on. Takes her mind off the kids. Congratulations, it's a girl. Girl ends up just like mummy. They're growing crates or sheds, are fed an unnatural diet of corn and drugs before being forcibly impregnated until physical exhaustion and infertility, which, despite a natural lifespan of 25 years, will just about make them 5 years old when they are sent to the slaughter to be made into cheap meat products. Now, if it's a boy, again,
What?
you have a useless child. He can't produce milk and is
You
the wrong
can't say
breed
that.
for beef. Now, mums and dads, you may not want to hear this, but there's 2 ways that this can go. He will either be kept to produce veal, live his life in a pitch-black crate the same size as him, chained down to ensure muscles never develop and his skin stays tender, fed a synthetic formula to keep his skin pale and anemic as desired by the consumer.
They're just kids, though. They're just
After a few
kids.
months of this horror, he is starving, weak, depressed and lonely. You know what that means. Yes, he is finally ready to be murdered for human pleasure.
Please don't hurt
That's
him.
one part of life for their
I think
baby
the first
boys.
is bad
The other
enough.
is being murdered at a day old for being born a pointless boy. Now, this can be done in various ways. Shot in the head, beaten alive. It all depends on the killer's preferences. The nutritional side to eating meat is one the industry has lied about the most. A vegan lifestyle has endless benefits: a longer lifespan, healthier skin, an increase in energy, more immune to life-destroying diseases, weight loss, and many, many more. Animal products contain so much unnecessary fat, carcinogens, and hormones which have been proven to have a negative effect on the human body. One unnatural hormone found in milk is one we formulated. Recombinant bovine growth hormone, or RBGH, is injected into the cows to make them produce more milk. This, along with the 80 other naturally occurring hormones, is not intended for the human body, and as I said earlier, has a negative impact on us. I suppose that's one way to get back at us, right? This is where the industry has lied, telling us that we need milk in our diets for healthy and strong bones. There's a reason we stop breastfeeding and move on to solid food, and that's because our bodies are able to collect our own nutrients for development from a wider range of food. Humans are the only living creatures that continue to consume milk unnecessarily into adulthood, and it just goes to show how unnatural this is when half the global adult population is lactose intolerant. Now, No one's saying you are immune, but the vegan diet has been proven to make you less likely to suffer from cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, strokes, Alzheimer's, cancers, cataracts, arthritis, obesity, and osteoporosis. If you don't do it for the animals, surely this is enough to make you want to change. I mean, who wants to be more susceptible to Alzheimer's, heart problems, and cancer? One of their biggest and most powerful lies is the protein debate. Meat has protein. We need protein to be big and strong. That is what we are taught. But there are millions and millions of sources our bodies can gather protein from, and you'll find that you can get just as much protein from cleaner, healthier foods. The last lie, the most meat eaters use to make themselves feel better, is that we are higher in the food chain and are supposed to eat them. Look at lions, cheetahs, or dog's teeth, razor sharp and pointy. The very design of an animal that's supposed to eat meat. Our teeth are more comparable to cows, monkeys, or squirrels. Herbivores, clearly not designed to tear through flesh. Need I say more? I'm sorry guys, but there's one last thing I need to tell you about the purpose of your life. So we're going to end things in the slaughterhouse. Literally. A slaughterhouse is a dangerous and unpleasant place. The stench of blood and the terrified screams of animals fills the air. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that this is a place of pain and death. You could be a chicken or even a pig. To keep things legal and humane, we have to stun you unconscious before inserting a knife through your neck, hitting the main arteries, so you may bleed out quickly. A recent 7-year investigation undertaken by animal rights organisation Animal Aid showed that only 1 in 10 slaughterhouses actually adhere to the humane slaughter law. That was 9 slaughterhouses sending live animals down the line after improper stunning, to be cut open, very much awake, terrified, and fighting for their lives. Here are a few of the other things they found during the investigation. Pigs burnt with cigarettes, animals punched, kicked, goaded, beaten, dragged by their ears and tails, animals deliberately given electric shocks through their tails, legs, ears, snouts and mouths,
I can't listen to
ewes
this.
stunned whilst their lambs suckled them, an inadequately stunned calf kicking whilst being trod on, animals kicked in the face and thrown to the floor, animals going to the knife without adequate stunning. A bit unnecessary, I'll admit, but hey-ho, you're just all stupid, clueless animals, right? There are many different techniques to stunning animals, the most common being electrical stunning and gassing. Is it me, or does this scream Holocaust? The captive bolt pistol, used on cattle, is a gun-shaped weapon, aimed at the centre of the forehead that drives a bolt of electricity through the flesh and skull, straight to the brain, hopefully causing loss of consciousness.
Don't we get a choice?
The electric tongs, usually used on sheep, pigs and goats, are a scissor-like shape. They are applied to either side of the head and send an electric current through the brain, hopefully knocking them unconscious. Electric water baths are the industry's answer to mass stunning, usually used on poultry, those unfortunate creatures that survive the factory farm. The abuseful workers and the final trip to the slaughterhouse will be dragged from their crates and hung upside down whilst conscious. Hey, at least this way is more sociable. They can all scream and cry and struggle together. It will move down the line until they reach the water bath, to which their heads will be dipped and hopefully they are rendered unconscious. If stunning is done incorrectly, and more often than not it is,
Please.
poor creatures will be conscious to the sticking, deskinning and scalding tanks. But I mean, when you have a scrambling animal that doesn't want to die, that just watched her sister's guts pour down the drain, fighting for her life, it can be difficult to position and use the equipment properly, you know. Why can't they just stay still whilst we murder them all? Sometimes this may be the case. Other times the voltage may be set to low for the size of the animal, so they will be electrocuted enough to hurt them a great deal, but not enough to knock them out. God, I'd hate to be one of those unfortunate ones. Now, if the voltage is too low, could it be improper training, laziness, or the fact that they set it lower on purpose so it damages the meat less, resulting in more profit in their pockets? I guess we wouldn't be able to prove which case it is anyway, and we just have to go by the fact that the people who murder for money surely wouldn't be that cruel. After improper stunning, they move down the line to have their throats cut and their guts pour from their neck. Now, it sounds impossible, but there are many that survive even after this point to the next stages.
Surely you must feel some remorse.
Pigs and poultry will enter the scalding tank, submerged in boiling water for the defeathering and cleaning. A former slaughterhouse worker reports the chickens scream out, kick, and their eyeballs pop out of their heads. I suppose it would be pretty horrific to be boiled alive. Cattle and other large animals will have their skin removed before being dismembered. You've just got to pray they die before this point, guys, but I can't promise anything. Animals that are too sick or injured for human consumption will either be buried alive or kept for experimentation, such as practicing inseminators, rapists, vets, and training stun operators, so basically tortured to death. But it doesn't sound too different to what happens to the healthy ones anyway. Imagine the horror of being boiled alive, the agony of having a knife jabbed through your throat, watching your guts pour from your neck down your face and into the plug hole below your head, being electrocuted continuously but never losing consciousness. Now imagine it happening to someone you love. Your mum, your brother, your grandma, your uncle, even your pets. If these things happened to your friends and family, you'd be more than devastated. To acknowledge the agony and suffering of their last moments, and for authoritative figures to turn a blind eye. But obviously, these things aren't going to happen to you, just the millions and billions of your brothers and sisters, and many, many more. The animal holocaust has been happening for thousands of years and is the most profitable business on the planet. It happens every day, every minute and every second. Unimaginable pain, torture and agony going on right now as we speak.
Please.
I feel it appropriate to introduce the numbers now. This is the kill count. As you have been watching, the figures have increased. This represents the amount of animals that have been tormented, electrocuted, stabbed and torn apart, conscious or not, whilst you have been watching this film. Let's freeze it. Whoa, that's big. You may not hold the knife, but by consuming, wearing, purchasing and any kind of animal product, you are providing a demand for more of this, a demand for cruelty and pain and torture. You provide the demand for abuse.
Please don't eat me!
Please don't eat me.
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 Don't eat
Please
me.
don't eat me.
Please, don't eat me.
Please,
Please.
please. Wake up, man. They're filming.
Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. And on his farm he had a
Can I see her?
E-I-E-I-O. With a here and a there, here up, there up, everywhere up. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. Old MacDonald had a farm.
I'm ready for my close-up.